Lee into the middle. And it's headed over the top by, you guessed it.
Result was better than the performance. We should have killed this game a lot earlier based on the chances that we had.
Yeah, people, welcome to JPL Fan, and we are off to Dominica, the Windsor Park Sports Complex, which is basically a cricket pitch for Jamaica's second World Cup Qualifier in 3 days. I just want to start off by saying, job is done. We had 2 games and 6 points on the table to get, and we get them. But we had to work for them, especially in this match, and I have 4 key takeaways to go through. So let's start with the first one, and of course that will be bust the youths. So of course, as usual, we got to start with the formation, as once again Coach Grimmy has went with his favoured 4-4-2. The only difference this time, there's been a raft of changes that was brought to the team. First up front, we did say Antonio and Shamar Nicholson didn't exactly work together as a tandem. You see what the coach agreed, as Antonio was replaced with Caelon Dixon up front. Cephas kept his spot on the left side. Palmer and Anderson came in the middle to replace Lowe and Johnson, and Bobby Reid stayed out wide on the right. There were actually more changes at right back. Tavon Green was out, Lemkisa was back in, that was expected. Bernard kept his space, but he was actually partnered this time by Richard King. So the coach definitely makes some changes. He was looking for fresh up the team with younger legs in this heat and on the wider pitches. Antonio was not in the squad at all, much less in the starting 11. After the game, assistant coach John Wall stated it was for workload management. So we'll definitely see him, I guess, back for Copa America. But it started with all the young players that really got a chance in this one. Richard King started at centre-back, and I thought he had a pretty decent game, at least up to the 88th minute, when some things happened where we're under pressure. But in between, he had a pretty decent game. The other players that got some introduction here, Alex Marshall came in the team at the 64th minute, but didn't exactly have an impact. We will speak more on him later. As well as young 17-year-old Adrian Reed Jr. come into the game at the 89th minute to try to stabilize a midfield that was under attack. But again, he had a decent cameo, but not much major to write about. But we really have to start with the star boy himself, Caelon Dixon. Like as I stated, he got the start in this one to partner Nicholson, and he was very, very good. I am running out of adjectives to really describe this young man for his rise from schoolboy football into the Jamaican national team setup. But from the day, all I can say, he was electric. He created numerous chance after chance for not just for himself or some of his teammates, but it was most of the fact that he never stopped running and he never stopped believing in himself. That's even after missing up this chance here, which was a guilty chance he should have tucked away, but he had never dropped. Chance of a chance was coming by and spurting, and you were thinking, well, boy, maybe that's not his day. But again, he has showed all season long in the JPL that he's a man that always believes in himself and believes in his own ability. And he got one here thanks to a nice pass on Cephas down the left, and him with some good quick feet and overstepping got the ball onto his right foot, get the keeper what they call the snake eyes, and beat him at the near post. It's what Caelon Dixon deserved, but honestly, him should have way more. And this is where I would like to really bring up the fact that while he is clearly a very talented young player, he has a lot of growing to go. He's just not clinical. And we see this at times in the JPL as well, especially where timely goals from him was needed and he simply didn't get it done. He has to clean up his conversion rate. We have gotten word that in training he's been finishing for fun, but that's just the thing. When you want to hear on the pitch for an official match, it's more than just fun out there. When the pressure is on, it seems that he's probably overthinking his finishing, and he seems to just either catching the bar, the post, or the goalkeeper's hands. He got numerous chances, especially even in the second half, to wrap this game up all by himself and get himself a nice hat-trick, but the goals didn't come. But at the end of the day, you have to remember he's just 19, and you can see that raw talent is definitely there. I'm excited to see what will come of this young man going further. But for now, still a very good game for him. He got 1 goal, and if he get picked for the Copa America team, let's hope we see more from him. Okay, up to the next point. I call this on risk and reward. As I stated before, we kept our midfield 4 of Cephas and left, Reed on the right, but we got 2 brand new midfielders in terms of Palmer and Anderson in the middle. Now, if you remember our talk about the last game against Dominican Republic, We stated that the team was a bit sluggish and slow on the ball, and there were not much forward passing or chance creation for the midfield that was going on. In this game with Palmer Anderson at the driver's seat, team overall started a bit slow. We were still showing shades of being sluggish on the ball in the first 5 minutes. Dominica set up with every man behind the ball and 4 banks at 4. So I guess we're just trying to feel our way to see how we can break that down. But all of a sudden, Dominica sprang into action. They came and surprised us with their direct and fast play, and they were now carving up through our midfield and getting away some decent counters in the early start of the game. This is where the risk part comes in. When you play Palmer and Anderson in that midfield, there is no true defensive midfielder or even a Buddha like Damian Lowe there to try to break up the streaking running of the Dominicans. But at the same time, eventually Palmer and Anderson settled down and they were starting to get some balls going forward the other way. Palmer especially, what I thought was very good. You see that he definitely ain't afraid to try and make some line breaking passes, and even if Ireland didn't come about, he definitely take the risk and try to place 1 and 2 through. Anderson as well had no fear. He collected the ball closer to his centre backs and distribute well to the flanks, and that in itself carried our back line much further up the pitch, and they will start finally get things going. That especially came in handy with our fullbacks. I stated again in that last game against Dominican Republic that I felt that we missed a trick by having our fullbacks sit so deep. In a formation like this where you have 2 strikers, 2 number 9s, it is best to try to get service from wide. And if our wingers are not capable, like in Cephas and Bobby Reid in this case, then our fullbacks have to get the job going. But finally, it's like Coach Grimmy as well as the players listen, that Miskisa was much higher up the pitch and tried his best very often to get down to the byline and get balls into the box. And Greg Lee, I felt, was much better at this. He had no problem coming much up the pitch. He had no fear of what's happening behind him, despite the speed of Dominica. And he tried to take the risk on by coming up the field and putting balls into the box. One of them came off, of course. He's swinging a good ball behind the back line of the Dominicans. That for Nicholson streaking into the channel. And while the Dominicans seemed to have it cover, they were a bit too laid back and saw Nicholson able to sneak through and poke the ball past the keeper into the back of the net for a first goal. But this would not happen if the fullbacks themselves was not pushing much higher, starting the press from up in the Dominicans' own half, and of course, making the delivery much earlier into the box on either wing. And I know that when you're up this high, you do leave space behind, and that can be risky, which we'll talk about a bit later. But these are the rewards you will get when you just take the chance. So I must give the coach credit and the players credit to finally take the initiative, and they got their goals. Okay, next point. All hail King Bowser. This match was no video game, but you could see that Shamar Nicholson was at our next level. He has now 19 overall goals for Jamaica, and in this game, playing as the senior strike partner in the team, he decided to take the challenge head on. Everything that I critiqued him about in the first game, not necessarily tracking back well enough, not necessarily holding the ball well enough, and not necessarily combining with his strike partner well enough, were all corrected in this game. And not only that, he still managed to get 2 goals on the day. That first goal, as I mentioned earlier, as well as he did tuck away a nice penalty in the second half to give him a brace. But the only problem, just like Dixon, he should have cleared to have a trick or even 4 goals. It was him versus the Dominican keeper Price all day long, as Nicholson often created some chances where he should have tucked away the goal, but end up found Price a worthy opponent. Sure, yeah, some of them you can give the keeper credit, but Nicholson, I felt with the form he was in, sure, easily tucked away some of those chances. But at the end of the day, I must give him credit. He's clearly the striker that is informed for us and clearly the main attacker for us. So he definitely deserves all his flaws for his performances. He was rightly crowned the man of the match for his both goals, but we just wish he was more clinical, as we were with the entire team. And we hope that he brush up on that finishing come for Copa America. But I just have to give him applause, because again, at the end of the day, a striker's main job is to score goals. And once again, with 3 goals in 2 games, he has started off the World Cup campaign in hot form. So again, kudos to you, Bowser. Well done. Alright, and for the final point, I'm going to go with indiscipline. Alright. We have to talk about this. As much as all the positive play, all the positive build-up in midfield, we were begging for coming to the fore, with all the more decisive passing from Anderson Palmer that was going on. Cephas taking on his man in the first half and causing some trouble. Fullbacks swinging in balls early to create chances. We must not forget that Dominica, especially in the first 10 minutes and the last 10 minutes, gave us a rough game. But regardless of that, this game should have been easily won by 6, 7 or 8. Just the amount of clear-cut chances the entire team created, or we were a bit lackluster and lacked that killer instinct to finish them off. But regardless of that, we were still sitting pretty at 3-0. But then with 10 minutes to go, seeing that the team lost its heads. And I brought this down to basically indiscipline, honestly, as the Dominicans' first goal came with Greg Lee being caught upfield too high, like he has been all game long, and Keane being out of position. It allowed the fresh legs of George to come about and get one past Waite and into the back of the net. Now, I want to zero in on what I mean by indiscipline here. I understand we wanted to score as much goals as possible, but with 10 minutes remaining and you've been running all game long on a much wider pitch in this severe heat and this bad pitch, and we already scored 3. I seemed that 4 goals were just not coming. I thought it was best for our fullbacks especially to be more reserved at home. Gregory and Lamikis have already done the job, said I'd love to see them sit a bit more at home, and then with 3 central midfielders in the game at this point, as we brought in Johnson to help with Palmer and Anderson in the game, we were no beer on one of the wings. So to see Lee so far up with 10 minutes remaining, I thought was unnecessarily risky. The Dominicans did show the game that when readied, they have the pace to give us trouble, so to leave some more space behind, again with tired legs and the heat bearing down, was again a bit of indiscipline. Now I have to note tackle coach Grimmy himself. He made some changes that I am a bit puzzled with. To be honest, he took off Dixon fairly early when Dixon seemed that he was still on the charge to get another goal. Again, maybe the young man was tiring in the weltering sun. But to make the change with Alex Marshall was a bit of a head scratcher. Again, as somebody who followed the JPL closely, I have seen Alex Marshall talent up close all season long. But for this game, I didn't think his specific skill set was especially necessary at this moment when he came into the game. Honestly, I was a bit puzzled at what the coach was trying to do. If he was trying to retain the ball a bit better, since the Dominicans were now coming at us a bit more, you would have bringing Donald Johnson here instead of Alex Marshall. And then if you're thinking of you want to score more goals, to put in another natural number 9 like Fabian Reed would make more sense than putting Alex Marshall. Then when the time came to finally trying to control more possession in midfield, Bobby Reed came out and Johnson comes in, but again it left a void on that right hand side and leave Lambert Kisa basically in a whole side of the field to defend for himself. Again, all of this in the weltering sun. And if you still want to put another central midfielder, and again, this is not to knock Daniel Johnson's accomplishments, but I still think that I prefer Adrian Reed Jr. into this game at that moment instead of Johnson, because he's more of a natural box-to-box and you give a better shield for that back line. And of course, it doesn't hurt that he's 17-year-old and young fresh legs would always be a better benefit at that point. As well as there was a halftime change with Cephas as well. Not to say that Cephas had the greatest game like he did in the game against Dominican Republic. The Dominicans did their homework and doubled up on him early as well as sat back and allowed him to run at them. But he did what everybody was criticizing him for in the last game. He kept his head up more often. He made some decent passes, especially the one that allowed for Dixon to get his first goal. But he came out at halftime and I didn't get any word if it was injuries. We brought on a like-for-like in Deshaun Beckford, who I thought never necessarily made much of an impact. The other weird choice I felt came when Deshaun Bernard came out for Hector at halftime. Again, we're not sure it was a knock that Bernard picked up, but just like we saw with the entire back line in that first part of the game in the first half, it took a time to find your feet on the surface, and Hector to come in with the pace was already past him, and he found it difficult to keep up. I felt he was a bit slow to react in the cover for King in that first goal for the Dominicans. I could have seen the run and slide over much earlier and keep up the fresh legs of George to help Jamali Waite and King a bit better. Then let's get on to the second goal. Lamkisa won the ball, and with tired legs once more, I felt he tried to hold on a minute too long and ended up giving up the ball. Hector again, who I felt was behind the pace of the game, ended up brought down the defender, luckily not to the box. In the end, it didn't matter, as Jules, and as his Troy Jules, who more Pleasant fans should know, set up the free kick curl, a beautiful one past Jamali Waite in the goal. I know the game was wide open for our liking. Chance was going back and forth, especially Bowser get another one that he should really tucked away after the play of Asian Reed Jr. But we also left ourselves so wide open at the other end that Dominican could have easily found the third. In the end, we managed to escape with the win, but that's just the point. We escaped with the win. So yeah, guys, that's my takeaway from Dominica's game against Jamaica. As stated before, the point is 6 points. We got it. Team played better, I felt, than they did against Dominican Republic. Palmer and Anderson brought much more creativity that made the park. We saw much more service from the fullbacks and wingers, and the top two forwards seemed to be much better in a pair. But again, we start the game a bit too slow for my liking, as well as we also once again give up late goals too much for my liking, as well as we definitely need to be more ruthless and have a better killer instinct, especially when we play against the smaller nations, as our conversion rate was poor. But again, at the end of the day, I'm just happy for 6 points, and we go again as we look forward to Copa America. Alright, before we get out of here, let's look at what FootMob said was the 3 best players for us on the day. Of course, Nicholson was the man of the match. He had the highest rating in the game at 9.1. Of course, he played 90 minutes, scored 2 goals, accurate passes of 10 out of 13, which is good enough for 77%. 1 chance created, 1 big chance created, and he had total of 8 shots. So 2 from 8, he needs to work on his conversion. Shot accuracy was 5 out of 6. He had 1 big chance missed, especially which was that lob over the keeper in the last spot, and he had 2 shots blocked. But I'm actually agreeing with this rating this time. 9 or 9.1 seemed fine. He was definitely the main man on the park. I liked his build-up play much more in this game, and I liked the goal he took. It was well taken, as it was seen like a play that he could have easily give up on, but he went for it. But of course, he would love for him to convert more of those chances, and hopefully in time for Copa America he will do. So good job again by Shamar Nicholson. The next highest rating goes Caelon Dixon, and well deserved for the 19-year-old. He had an 8.5. He only played 64 minutes. Again, I'm not sure why he was taken out so early. He had 7 out of 7 accurate passes, so he was definitely linking up well with his midfielders and his strike partner. 2 chances created. As I said, he's very good at creating his own chances. But here's the big issue though. He had 7 total shots and a shot accuracy of 2 out of 6. So his conversion is his main issue, and is honestly his biggest issue I've seen from him in the JPL playoffs, and now at the national team. With his skill set, he would definitely create chances, and I am not saying he needs to take all of them, but he needs to at least convert better. But again, I feel that will come with more experience, more polishing of his technical abilities, so I am not necessarily worried there. It was a very good outing by the young man, and it showed us his potential keeps skyrocketing. So we have to keep a keen eye on him as he goes further. The third best was between Anderson and Reed, but I am going to focus more on Anderson here, because I thought he had a very good game in that number 6 position. I didn't think he necessarily brought the greatest of shield to that back line, but what he did well is keeping the ball and distributing it properly. He had 19 touches in attacking third. He had 6 passes into the final third from that low midfield position, showing exactly what we're missing in that first half against Dominican Republic again on Thursday. On the defensive side, not the greatest tackler, but he still won 3 out of 4, so it wasn't bad. 1 interceptions though, I think he could clean up on. 7 recoveries, and he was dribbled past 2 times. Again, places I think him can smooth up and do a little bit better. But here's the key difference between him and Daniel Johnson from last game. He was only dispossessed 1 time in the final third. You can definitely see a difference there. One of the main points we should also mention is that Anderson completed the most passes in the match. He had 68 passes, and that was out of 76. It was an accuracy of 89%. So again, a very stellar outing by Anderson in that lower midfield position. Now moving on to what FootMob rated our worst player on the field. Our worst outfield player anyway, as Wade got a 5.5, but we're going to look at the outfield players, and that will be Alex Marshall, that got a 6.1. They came in and played only 26 minutes. He actually completed 6 passes out of 6 passes, so his passes was fairly good, but honestly, that's all he did on the field. I felt he had a very difficult time getting into the game, really. You did seem that they were able to find him, and you would seem that he was able to find anybody really in anywhere dangerous positions. And as a creative midfielder that he is, you don't want more of that from him. But again, I felt it wasn't necessarily all his fault. I think he came in the game with a weird position, a weird time. He wasn't sure if he was there to help provide support in the field in controlling the ball, or he was there to help Shamar Nicholson up in attack, to help create more chances and score goals. He was caught in between, and you could see that he could say that he affected his play. It led to him having the least touches on the field all game long. He had 13 touches, and that was a bit poor in 26 minutes. So, yeah, again, this is not an indictment on Alex Marshall's talent. Again, I didn't feel the coach did him any favors, but you still want to give him a chance like this. He's now 26. When you're given a chance like this to really try to swim into place in this Jamaican pool, you kind of want to influence to give him a bit more than that. So a tough break for Marshall. Let us see if he returns again in the Jamaican setup, and probably play a role that's best more fitting for him. In fact, I felt it would probably be better to bring him in a situation in a Dominican Republic game than into this one. But anyway, that's all the breaks are, and sometimes you just have to take your chances. Alright, but that's all on my breakdown of the Jamaica 3-2 victory over Dominica. Again, 6 points, we're taking it. Before I run out of here, let's look at our other opponents in the group, especially Guatemala, who tops the group, of course, thanks to another victory over a small team as they bested British Virgin Islands on the road 3-0. A goal from Castellanos, Rubin and Pinto gave them a convincing win, and now gives them a very healthy +9 goal difference sitting on top. So we have some work to do in the next round of fixtures, especially when Guatemala comes here to take we on. But alright guys, that's all from this review and breakdown of the Jamaica game against Dominica. Once more, one last time, let's look at the result, 3-2, because it's still important. We still get 6 points, and we still should run with it. The team, again, played better, but we still have some cleaning up to do. So let us see if we go forward. First game, the Copa America against Mexico. But I'm going to run out of here. Again, if you're new here, please like, subscribe, and share as we keep up to date on all things Jamaica, as well as the Jamaican Premier League going forward. And again, I thank you all for watching. I really appreciate all the kind words from the last video, and I will do my best to try match up to y'all standards. But again, that is all I got here at Jampiel. Big up yourself, YouTube.